Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, life and legacy, structured around some key issues. He was born into the Banu Hashim, Quraysh tribe 570 in Mecca. The Quraysh held high social status through custodianship of the Kaaba and providing for pilgrims, food, and other necessities. People think Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family was poor. 200 camels were sacrificed on day when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born. Still in this era, can anyone sacrifice 200 camel at birth of his child? I think not possible still. Quraysh used to feed pilgrims also, so it is lie and act of defamation of respectable family. Poverty is never liked in Islam. It can make people do strange things like murder, selling themselves, or their children, prostitution. Such big sins can take a person to infidelism. The people who are poor throughout life did not ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help, because Allah has clearly mentioned in Holy Quran, I am the merciful and giver. The Quran is starkly realistic. In the chapter of light, it instructs those who lack the means to remain chaste until God enriches them from his bounty. While directly about marriage, the principle is clear. Your financial capacity is a legitimate consideration for taking on family responsibilities. You cannot use fear of poverty as a reason to end a life, but you can and should use rational planning to prevent a life you genuinely cannot care for. This is the theological bedrock for the permissibility of contraception. Justice and sustenance are core themes of Quran. Bringing a child into the world without the ability to feed, clothe, and educate them properly can be seen as a failure of this justice. My overreaching sense is one of a strong preference and blessing for small families, but within a flexible framework that prioritizes justice, well-being, and responsibility. During Prophet Muhammad's time in 7th century Arabia, the Islamic reforms he introduced were nothing short of revolutionary for women's rights. In a society where women were considered property, subject to infanticide, and with no right to inheritance or consent, Islam established them as full spiritual and legal persons. It granted women the right to own and manage property, inherit wealth, choose their spouse, and seek knowledge, rights that were virtually non-existent in the pre-Islamic world and would not become standard in the West for over a millennium. These fundamental legal rights, which served as a powerful protective and empowering framework within a deeply patriarchal tribal context. Rights championed by early Islam, such as the right to financial independence, education, and consent in marriage, are now enshrined in international law and are the stated goals of modern feminist movements in many nations. Significant gap exists between the modern legal ideal of absolute gender equality in all spheres that is not achievable at any level at any cost. The modern West, as a whole, is not looking for the specific social model offered by traditional Islam. The two systems are founded on fundamentally different core values that lead to different goals. The highest ideal in modern Western liberalism is individual autonomy. This means the freedom of each person to define their own life, identity, values, and relationships without being bound by preassigned roles based on gender, family, or religion. The goal is to maximize personal choice and self-determination. The Clash, the traditional Islamic model, prioritizes the stability, harmony, and continuity of the family and community. Individual desires are secondary to fulfilling divinely mandated duties for the greater good of the social unit. From the Western perspective, this is seen as restricting individual freedom for women. The West sees freedom as freedom from constraints, from assigned roles, from obligatory duties, freedom to choose one's own path. The Islamic model sees freedom from the anxiety of financial insecurity for women and from the confusion of undefined roles for men. It is the freedom to flourish within a sacred structure that provides purpose and security. From the Western viewpoint, this is not freedom at all, but a form of bondage to a predetermined script. The West is not looking for the Islamic model, because it views the problem and the solution through an entirely different lens. The Islamic model sees the chaos and offers structure, duty, and clarity as the cure. The Western model sees any imposed structure as the cause of the problem: oppression, lack of freedom, and believes the cure is more autonomy, more choice, and more equality. It is a fundamental disagreement on the very nature of human flourishing. One system believes we find peace and purpose by submitting to a divine order with clear responsibilities. The other believes we find peace and purpose by being free to create our own order through individual choice and negotiation. We tried Western system for many decades by giving more rights, financial and in all other spheres, but it failed badly. We have broken structure of families, communities. Broken wives, broken husbands, broken children's. We would have never thought of it. The intense hatred for Islam and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stems from a complex mix of geopolitical grievances, long history of conflict, crusades, colonialism, modern politics, perceived threat to liberal values, a failure to distinguish between the religion, cultural practices, and the actions of extremists, fear of a global identity, xenophobia, and alarmist demographic theories, media bias, constant association of Islam with violence, ignoring the peaceful majority.